What's the big idea?
All right, and we are here once again for episode number...
41?
41, yes,
that.
Episode number 41. And today we are talking about another topic that might go against what people think ordinarily, and this one is setting big goals hurtful or problematic? I don't know.
It might go against what like the big market thinks.
The big market,
what is advertised.
It might, or it might not. Right? We don't
Or it
wanna,
might not.
Or it might not. Maybe we'll just reinforce
Agree with everything.
what everybody believes already.
Yeah.
I guess I should ask, is everything okay? How's life? Anything new, exciting?
Life's pretty good. Playing beach volleyball.
Yeah, playing a lot.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Got burnt once already, so I need to not do that again.
Yeah.
And you get used to just playing with a shirt on and just, because it's already been hot like out here, and like obviously I'm just like kind of dying in a soak-filled shirt or a sweat-soaked shirt. But I think it's like, how else are you gonna do it? How else do you get through like a 7-hour day like out in the sun? Like you're gonna have to put the shirt on and like put a hat on, because like we were saying about the sunscreen, I use it, but I want to use it as minimally as possible.
Right.
I also don't want to burn.
Get a base.
Well, I have a base now.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah.
Got it now. But
I just got to tan a little bit before the season, and then you just. But I'm brown, so it's not fair.
Yeah, I don't think my skin can take 7 hours of sun without anything.
Yeah, that's true.
I'm gonna burn.
Those Dutch roots. Yes. Like everything in life, we must prepare through a little bit of hardship.
Yes.
And then more hardship becomes easier.
How are you?
Oh, I'm good. Thanks for asking. Just nice. Exciting stuff going on, as you know.
Yeah.
We're talking about bringing in some guests soon. Some nice, well-respected guests who sound much more credible than we do, just sitting here. But
we're going to bring on some non-respected guests?
No. We're bringing in more respected guests to diminish our significance. And so that just to prove to people that we know what we're talking about, we're going to wait till my dad gets on. No. These people are going to come on and talk a little bit about, so parents, players, coaches will definitely want to tune in for those episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And we talked about this. Now, before we get too far into the topic of setting big goals, we wanted to talk a little bit. Last episode we did was the is mental training a myth episode, and it ruffled some feathers. I think some people messaged us about, was it narrow-minded of us to sort of write off mental training, which I don't think we did, by the way. Like,
right.
If people listened to the whole show, they would have heard that we did talk about there are types of mental training that work.
Yeah.
But we don't think they can be found in a book. And
to clear that up, like you can find information, but you need to like process it yourself and then implement it and try it and then actually see. You can't just read something and then take it just believe what it is and then you're mentally tough. Like we were saying when we were talking before, right? Like be skeptical, bring information in, but you have to put it to the test. And a lot of other things we did. Oh, geez, excuse me. Talk about our mental training, especially exercise and which is your preparation for the sport, your sport specific training, your practice, the hitting the weights, doing the stretches, going to bed on time, eating the right food.
That's all mental stuff.
Yeah.
To build something. Yeah. I think the point that I want to get to was like, what we were getting at is mental training can't be bought. It has to come through experience. Yeah. And the only reason why people we mentioned,
I like you saying it like that better.
Yeah, because you can't replace the doing, the school of hard knocks, we used to call it, right? You can't replace that by reading about hard knocks. You can glean some knowledge of people who failed or succeeded before you. I think the reason why people like Jim Rohn, if people know that name, or Anthony Robbins, I think the reason why they're effective and a lot of high level athletes will hire them, or used to hire Jim Rohn before he passed.
Which they have.
Yeah, which they have. I think that works because what they do is they take your own life experiences and allow you to look at them with the right perspective versus someone like they're not talking to 15-year-old kids who haven't had those experiences yet, and you know what I mean, and saying, here, like that's sort of what we're doing in youth volleyball is we're trying to make kids get mentally tougher when they haven't lived yet through hardship and through those things. And that's why the gym and exercise works, because that's adding that layer of difficulty that strengthens the mind.
Yeah.
Right? I think that sums it up, right? So we're not saying that mental training is a myth. What we're saying is certain types, and that's what we said in the show, like there's certain types of mental training that are very effective for kids, and other ones they just have to go through it.
Yeah.
And I think the reason why we buy it is because we're so impatient. We don't want to let kids wait to go through it. So we try to buy it.
Yeah.
Because let's get you mentally tougher now. Because we're just not patient watching kids go through it and learn over time. The faster our technology gets, the more impatient our brains become. So
yeah.
Does that sum it up nicely, you think?
I think so. I thought it was a really fun episode to like talk about, and I ended up having a conversation with a buddy of mine who plays afterwards, and I think he only watched like the short clip we had of it, but
that's all anybody wants.
yeah, and
that's all you need.
I spent a little bit of time just to actually tell him like I do think there are certain things that are, but there's a lot that maybe not only like getting in the way, but actually like doing the opposite and like making things worse. The clip was specifically of us talking about that one coach I had, and when I tried to implement these mental training things and return to a state of you can't just return to a state of clear-mindedness like when it's like a prescription or something, or a step-by-step, or that just happens without me doing it, just by playing more and then like by making more mistakes and kind of seeing what's happening to my own mental integrity as the game is going on and as I'm trying to tell myself to do things. Again, this is, if you go back and listen to the show, we talk about meditation and things like this are mental training, because you're getting your body and mind used to the fact that thoughts will come and go, but you're going to work on like dismissing them and just trying to stay calm, or you do have some type of plan. For me, I have one. I'm just like learning this now, where I will return to one little basic of my, if it has to do with passing, one little thing just to focus my mind on.
Right.
Yeah, and then that actually
clears out the other thoughts. Yeah,
it helps a lot.
Helpful, yeah. And so the one thing too that we talked about this too, we did say the sport is the mental training. And what that is, so this is where the practicing and reps means everything. Because what happens with practicing, the more reps you do of anything, the less significant each rep becomes. And so that's what helps with the mental training. This is why the best athletes, the best whatever in the world, a singer can go perform in front of 20,000 people, no problem, because they've done it more than people who would be in their head if they only do it once. So reps. Rep. It diminishes the significance of each rep. That's why coaches need to be careful in practice. If they start taking away practice time to read mental training books, you're actually reducing the number of reps. And the only way you can get into flow state, if you want to call it flow state or unconscious like we talked about, high number of reps means that player has practiced so much that they know a shank doesn't matter. Yeah. They know a missile doesn't matter. And this is why parents, by the way, overreact when they watch sports, because they haven't done it enough. Yeah. So they overvalue every point. They overvalue everything. They think too much. But if you just add it up and keep going, so many times, like even for me, like in business, right? So many failures, failure. Don't care. Just keep going. And that's why I failed more, whereas someone who's new in business or new in sports, they'll fail and they'll be like, it's a catastrophe. I'm like, no, what are you talking about? It's so just fail more. That's where all these cliches come from. So,
well, you've been influenced by Karch Karai, by Ali.
These were all my personal trainers.
Your influencers.
Yes. I guess so. Or I don't know if I was influenced by them. Probably, or if I was like there was something that they really, I guess so. But because there's people who love
also
those
like
people,
a similarity to yourself.
I think
that
there's
you
a similar.
Were
I was born a little bit fiery,
inspired. You're like, I'm of the same type of person that they are. Therefore, it's just felt natural for you to just.
I think
it was a bit of that.
I think I worship these athletes, or like sort of really locked in on them in a different way, I think, than a lot of people did, unless they also had that same quality. Like I was, like we talked about this before, like motivating self through like anger. Like, like I look for reasons to get motivated sometimes.
Yeah, and most athletes should be able to relate to that. Not all of them, like, so I'm sure many of them struggle with, like, it works a bit for me, but then at a certain point when I'm too angry or something, or I feel insulted and slighted, then it doesn't work for me.
Yeah, and you just have to find what does, because you're a more I don't mean sensitive in the negative term, but you're very deeply feeling person. Which could be used very well in other ways. Yeah,
I mean, it might even end up being a reason why I can never be too competitive. Like,
yeah, in a good way.
Yeah,
in a good way.
Yeah, it's just the way.
Because it's not like society says it's, athletes should be competitive. You want to kill them, but no, there's something very nice about. You're like, hey, why are you why are you? Like on the other side of that, like, why is that guy screaming? Because he blocked me. What a jerk that guy is. I mean, who's right in that scenario? Yeah. Not the idiot running around on the other side. But yeah. So we just have to. This is what we said before too. Like, we just have to find, the tools that people have. They have to identify who they are and go as far as they can go with those tools. I think there's too much in mental training that tries to tell young kids that they have to be this way or that way. And if they don't, and this is the problem, because if they aren't succeeding in that way, or they're not doing what their mental training booklet said to do, then they feel more like failures, not like successes. Whereas the proper approach is to go through hardship, find out how you deal with it, and then the next hardship becomes easier because you've been through it before. That's the only mental training that matters, and that's why the gym works. That's why, like we talked about, the weight training, because it is hardship. Confidence. It's like literally putting yourself through stress. That's what yoga is, putting yourself through stress. Breathe now. Put yourself through stress in the gym. First thing they teach you in the gym when you're training is breath work, how to breathe. You're literally learning to breathe through stress. Okay, let's take that, transfer that into other areas. Now, in a game, breathe through stress.
Yeah.
In a game, in life,
and you
breathe through stress.
I love how in the gym you experience on this like chemical level pain, but then you come out of it. Like the last few reps of your set are just burning, right? And like you don't want to do it anymore, obviously, because it's like a form of pain. Mm-hmm. You rack the weight and then you chill out for like 30 seconds or a few minutes. Pain's gone. You go, you do it again, right? So I love it because it gives you this sense of control, and it lets you know like what your body's capable of, and not everything lasts forever. Mm-hmm. I love that kind of.
And those days where you get in the gym where you didn't think you would.
Yeah.
Right? Like it's midnight and you're like, I haven't worked out today, and then you just go. Yeah. And you're like, I feel so good that I did that. I didn't think I could do that. Right? That's mental training.
Yeah.
That's the mental training we're talking
about. Or the time when you do it in the morning. That's. I'm figuring that magic out now.
Yeah.
It's like,
Are you doing it? Are you doing it now?
Yeah. Well, not consistent. I'm working out consistently,
but just not in the morning.
No, always in the morning.
Yeah. It always feels. It's tricky.
Maybe it just feels because I've never been a morning workout person.
Yeah.
It does feel great.
It helped me when I had young kids, and then I had when I was teaching, so I could go right before school, and it was close to the gym. So I was like, I'm gonna get up in an hour and a half anyway, so why not get up and feel good, right?
Yeah. You want to turn your phone off?
What's that?
but yeah, the reps, man, and sorry, that's why I brought up like Jordan and like Kobe, and I know we've talked about them before, and like it's something I'm just using.
Well, they're popular culture examples of what we're talking. Yeah. Like the self-taught mental. Like I don't think Kobe was leafing through manuals.
No, I don't. Like he read books like crazy.
Read biographies of successful people.
What was that one season when Jordan did the Space Jam video? He literally at Warner Brothers Studios they set up a whole court because he's like I'll do the movie, but like this is my schedule. I need to do this every day.
He was coming back too, right?
He was coming back. I think this was the
summer after he came back. Yeah. There was like eliminated.
Yeah, this would have been 95 after the baseball strike or whatever. And anyways, they set it up for him, and then he did it. He like he got up at like 7 every day. He worked out, practiced, like slept, whatever.
Filmed all.
And then he would film. No. Well, he left a certain portion for filming, and then they ended up doing.
But they were long filming days.
Yeah.
That's the thing. He filmed a long day.
And then they would have scrimmages after, and he would go to bed at like midnight and then get up at like 6 or 7 the next day. So, but it's just to support what you were saying about repetition. And it's absolutely true. And that's what like the exercise backs up on, like, especially when it comes to like a volleyball spike or a block touch, or if your game is being hindered, personally speaking, by like physical endurance. If you go in the gym, and now the next time you're out on the court, you're like, I feel more confident because it's like I've been putting work in. I'm going to be able to go. My endurance is getting better. It's getting better. It's getting better.
Perfect metaphor. Yeah, the body building up endurance. So does the mind. Same thing. Yeah, just exposure. The more you do it, the easier it gets for your body. More easier it gets for your mind. Okay, let's move on to today's topic because we don't want to do 2 shows in a row on mental training. But hopefully that clears up that we're not saying that mental training doesn't exist. We're just saying that it can't be bought in a book. It has to come from experience. So today's topic again is all about is setting big goals helpful, hurtful? The idea there, popular culture tells us that, and a lot of these mental training books, by the way, contain things like, where do you think you'll be in 5 years? And what's your plan? What's your 5-year plan to get there? And
how do you know? Have you been reading?
I've seen them. Of course I've seen these books. That's why that's the only way to critique something, Eric, is to study it, right? You don't just criticize it without reading it. Anyway. So what do you think? Big goals. Helpful, hurtful? Does it matter? Does it depend?
I can't say. I would not say helpful.
Time's up.
Yeah.
What is helpful?
Well, I've never implemented them, and so I've never.
You've never done big goals? Never set a big goal, Eric?
Yeah, I've had a goal, but I haven't been like, I want this in 5 years. If I had something that I wanted to do, I would just go and do it.
Okay. So you think are they hurtful? Are they neutral? There's no right or wrong. Eric looks like you look like I'm grading you on this. I'm just asking your honest opinion.
Well, I don't really know because I've never really set 5-year goals.
Okay. So you don't think, can you think of anything negative about setting 5-year goals? Or not, I don't know why we're stuck on 5-year goals.
The only thing I can think of is...
Let's think of it this way. How about young players, right? That's basically the focus here, like youth volleyball, even the coach themselves, parents setting goals for their kids in volleyball.
So they're 14 and they're setting a goal to be on a varsity team when they're 18, 19 at this school.
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. I mean, the good things about it would be that it would, from then until that age, they would be being drawn towards it. And so if they are doing this properly, I would think that it's like, hey, if I'm in the state now where I would not make the team, obviously because they're young, but then they are setting a goal. They would be looking at the characteristics required for them to be able to then make the team.
Yep.
So they would have to look at the things that are within their realm of control. So training and skill, and probably, if they're smart about it, who they are as a person and as a teammate. And they're looking at these qualities and they say, this is the way I am now, and there's a lot of room for improvement. And then therefore they would go for those next 4 years, try to improve upon them. But the downside to that would be if they're kind of constantly comparing themselves to that end goal during this whole process, like in the day-to-day. If the future is too far off and you have it set like that, then there's a very stark contrast between who you are now and that who you are in 4 years, who you want to be in 4 years, right? And that contrast could end up being too contrasting.
Is that a word? Yeah, it's a word. Just very poorly said.
Yeah, and
that contrast could be too great.
Too great. Yes, it was very poorly said.
I'm just kidding.
And that could be, discouraging, or that can make you feel like crap. That could be like make you feel like this goal is like way too difficult to achieve, and that will kind of affect your day to day, right? So if you're gonna, I don't know if. See, I don't know how to set 5-year goals, but if you're going to be doing this, you want to be kind of obsessed with the day to day, and then that's probably, Anyways, I don't know how to cope with that. That's the issue I see happening. So
why don't you set 5-year goals, or why do you think you never did set long-term goals?
Well, I mean, I've set goals before and I've achieved them. Like when I had to go to college, I knew that I needed to.
Why did you say when I had to go to college?
Yeah. Well, I said it specifically for that reason.
Oh, okay. We're getting deep in the weeds here.
No, it's just like I knew I had to.
For your parents' love.
No, for my own like self-love. I needed to make money and be independent. So college wasn't the only option. It's just the one that was most familiar to me.
Yeah.
Right. And it's like, hey, if I do this, I can get this thing, and then this thing will let me do this job. And then
you mean like it was the easy way?
Yeah.
I'm just kidding.
Well, it was familiar. It's the most common.
Yes.
It's what everyone is doing. It's like, it would have been the easier way for sure.
No,
if you think about it.
I'm just kidding. No, but
I know what you're alluding to.
It's the way
yeah.
We all did it. Yeah.
And so I just went and did it.
Yep. And you were proud when you got it?
Well, I guess so, but it's not something I reflect back on. Like,
yeah, you don't look back. That's interesting. So you don't look back and say,
I do sometimes now. I try to.
It's kind of cool that I did that. It is nice to remember to do that once in a while because that helps build self-esteem, right?
Like when we were starting to do this, I actually thought about that. I was like, you know what? Like, I've done something that's pretty cool and that was difficult. Yeah, and then so why can't I do this? And
can I say, Eric, too, just sorry, listener, but I'm very proud of you.
Why are you apologizing?
Well, no, I'm apologizing to the listeners if they are nobody listening, but I just want to say I'm very proud of you because you have really done this is a lot of time, a lot of work, and nobody's subscribing, so anyway, so if you are listening, we
position's coming open.
No, I don't mean that.
I know.
No. What I mean is that we're putting a lot of time and hard work, and I'm very, very impressed with your amount of dedication to this. It's been really impressive to watch, and for someone who's known you since you were a teenager, it's cool to see you. Dedicate yourself to something that you see it's as a mission, essentially, right? And it's good, and I'm very proud of you, Eric.
Well, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Well, and if we look back when I was working for you as a convener in my 20s, and I would go through these
oh yeah, but I that's what I would have been like too. That's what the other thing, when I was your age and.
I can't convene today. What, Eric? And then you talk, it's fine, and then.
No, but that's fine. That's fine. That's part of the whole gig. But I think that setting goals. I think that goals can be interesting. I think the problem with setting a big goal for a lot of people today is that, like you sort of mentioned too, that they have it backwards. They don't realize that. So I, as a business person and even as an athlete, yes, I had some goals, but in my head, the idea, but. The real thing that I always focus on is the day-to-day work. And then the goals and opportunities come out of the day-to-day work. So many people, I think, and young people are learning, and parents and coaches are fantasizing about the end goal, when what they should be fantasizing about or dreaming about is the work in the middle it takes. Like you said, day-to-day.
Yeah.
Because if you're just thinking about the end goal, then you're sort of focused on the reward, not because so few people know about the hard work it takes to get the reward.
Yeah.
So you really should be focusing on, okay, every day I'm going to do, this is where the discipline talk comes in our popular culture today. And, just like discipline is the key, right? Because that's it. Like the people who focus on the end goal, and then, like we talked about before, they go sit and eat some chips and, eat some hot dogs. And they're like, yeah, I'm going to be in the Olympics one day. But they're thinking about the Olympics. They're not thinking about what the Olympians do to get there, right? Very little of our culture really focuses on that because that's boring and that's hard and that's lonely, and not a lot of people do that. And then the goals at the end, you'll find, oh wow, here come the offers from the schools. Here comes the offer from high-level teams. Here comes more opportunities for coaching or whatever it is, or, whatever is the goal. So the goals almost take care of themselves if you don't have your high beams on, you have your low beams on, and you're looking right in front of you, and then you'll just find that you'll get to your destination.
Okay, well...
So this show is over, right?
Yeah, no, it's not over. When, now it's been 18, 19 years of Envato?
20.
20?
20, yes.
Look at that. And I would ask you as... Now, if you think back when 20 years ago, this is not what you had as a goal. Like all the cities you're in, and it kind of branching off into something like this.
No, this wasn't. We like a lot of.
So
people,
then, what was your goal back then, 20 years ago?
The goal back then, and the goal. So let's take it to Volleyballology. Let's say too, same thing. But specific. Okay, let's look at other things. So my other business is like volleyball leagues and clinics and tournaments and stuff, and we started that 20 years ago. And the goal at the time was just to provide good leagues.
Yeah.
Like so, if we had an 8-team league to start, which is true, in 2003, the goal was to make that league, and it was just me and my buddies, and the goal was to make that league as good as possible, and make those people have a blast and come back.
See, that's
it. And so that was like, and then as we grew into like bigger and bigger and bigger, then the goal just became to make it as good as possible for all those people, and we're kind of obsessed on making it as good as possible for them, and that's hard work. It's staying up late.
Yeah.
Sacrificing body over workouts, and mind over lack sleep over time.
Yeah, but you reap the benefit of pursuing that goal for every year for 20 years, every month for 20, 24, 12 months, whatever. So it's more than just a goal, but it was like
obsession,
a vision or mission, whatever you want to call it, right? And it's also part of
mental illness.
But it also mental illness.
Most
it's also what inspired you. They'll say mental illness. Yeah, obsession.
Most entrepreneurs will say that nobody else would do what they do because it's crazy.
Yeah, and I'm just bringing this up because it sounds like it's more than just a goal. Like it's what you wanted to do. It's what motivated you. It's what inspired you every day. And so that's why. Well,
there's a famous. Can I just interrupt you there? Because there's an interesting theory that I just sort of heard on some another business executive.
Podcast?
Executive talked about CEO. He said there's like the driven. So at the beginning you're driven, right, to do something, and like your self-esteem wants to pull something off and you want to accomplish something, and then when it gets to be a certain size and people start expecting it, then you start to get dragged by because now it becomes the burden, and now there's expectation, and that now starts dragging you.
Yep.
Versus like there's a lot of times the last few years where
that's a lot less fun.
That's where it switches. It switches from this passionate pursuit of something and like the accomplishment for your needs, and you're like, wow, I pulled this off, to like, ooh, now everybody wants this, and now everybody expects this, and now
why don't you just take it away from them for a year?
We did. We caused that pandemic. I don't know if you heard about that, but that was me. I was the bat. No, I'm just kidding. That's not funny. Is that funny? No, it's not funny. Is this anything? No. So but that's an interesting notion when it comes to setting big goals too, because I think that can happen to anybody. Like, sometimes you get trapped in a dream.
It can happen to athletes.
Well, that's what I'm talking about. Like athletes who get trapped in a dream, and then now their parents are pushing or their coaches are pushing, and maybe the kid's dream passion has died. Passion is kind of a really weird word when it comes to this stuff, because passion is the wrong word too, by the way. Like, you could be passionate about volleyball or passionate about stuff, but it's not that you need passion, it's that you need like hard work. Like, you know what I mean? Because passion is like, oh, I love it, I can't stop playing volleyball, but that doesn't mean you're gonna do all the other stuff you need to do, the eating right, the sleeping right, the working out, the training. That's not volleyball. Like, that's what I tell people all the time. Like in my business, like, we started a volleyball business, and everybody thinks it's a dream to start a volleyball business if you love volleyball, and I did. But the last thing I do is volleyball. It's literally like sometimes I don't even play because I get sick. I was just telling one of our staff today.
Or you stay up so late.
Well, I stay up late, and then also, but there's something about it where I've surrounded myself with volleyball to the point that sometimes when I think about playing somewhere, it makes me sick to think about a volleyball court and a ball. I hate the sight. I see volleyball nets, and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
And what's that great line by
nice.
Was it George Plimpton, the famous writer, said, people think that we destroy what we love. It's the other way around. What we love destroys us. Because we get so wrapped up in it. It's kind of crazy. A lot of married people can resonate. Can resonate with that. Can relate to what I'm talking about.
Well, let me ask you about an example. I'm going to use pop culture again, but what in the Redeem Team, right? That short little documentary. Didn't they started basically 3 years before? Was it the 28 Olympics in Beijing, Summer Olympics.
The Beijing 2012?
No, or was it 2012 or
2012.
2008. Remember where the little documentary on where
yes.
where like the Americans lost.
Oh yeah, you're right. 2008. My bad. Yeah, because 2012 was London. Yeah.
Yeah, and they brought on Coach K, and then they started 3 years before, right? And so obviously, I mean, this is a full professional environment. These are professional athletes. This is their job. So this is different. But they're setting a goal. It's not 5 years out, but it was 3 years, and they already started to work on it. And then they did while also playing in the NBA at the same time. But so there's a group of people who did set a far out goal.
But that's sort of like the world setting the goal for you, right? Like the Olympics every 4 years.
Well,
it's their job.
Okay,
like you said, like that. That's a little like I know what you mean. That's
what I mean. Like, why does it work for them? But it's different. Like that's their job, and like there's so much anticipation, and there's a lot of glory in it.
Yeah,
right.
And they already have the work ethic. Right?
Yeah.
Like they've already, so for now, like even me, like in our company, we might, like we're setting some goals in some things we're doing, but they're, relatively short-term goals. But like once you've proven like those athletes they've already acquired the skill of hard work, they're all there. That's why like the Last Dance, when we were talking about Jordan, like he can totally crap on his teammates at that level because they're already among the elite.
Yeah.
And if you are not pulling your weight among other elite athletes, then I think like it's almost like they are all like think of that NBA, that Michael Jordan's team or the Olympians even, they're all successful, let's say entrepreneurs. Like they already proved it. They already made it. And now they're seeing which among the entrepreneurs are pulling they're all independent business owners almost, you know what I mean? Are you doing your job? Are you doing your job?
Right.
Are you doing your job? You know what I mean? They're not staff, right? There's a like
yeah.
So like
and they all knew that was needed from Jordan for them to achieve those championships.
Yeah.
Like,
and every year,
that's
like
what I got
a team has a goal every year, but like don't forget those pro athletes, like to win a championship every year is a goal, right? Of teams.
Yeah.
The problem with it doing with a youth team, and this is sort of what we're this is another topic we're going to do, and maybe one of our guests is going to talk a lot about this too.
Yeah.
Is that's complicating youth sports with pro sports. And, youth sports are not professional sports. You're trying to get them some mindset. Trying to make them into better people. You're trying to make them better.
Give them the mental training. It's there. You don't even have to buy the book. It's there and available. You've paid for the club fee.
But what I'm saying is like, so for them to worry about championships it's sort of missing the boat. Like youth sports is about teaching every kid to be a better person and player at the end of the day, right?
Yeah.
Especially better person because, they're not going pro.
Yeah.
99.999% of them are not going professional. So they just need to come out of sports and get from sports what it's meant to.
0.98.
Yeah. Yeah. What it's meant to give them, right? It's not meant to give them championships and medals and all that stuff. But we're bringing that pro score. Like it's funny that you mentioned the pro team and goals and dream teams, and because that's exactly what we're doing. Is we're sort of applying those values to kids that are still growing and developing and all that stuff. Those grown adults already have proven that they have those qualities. That's why they're there. They got through that filter. So now they're just trying to accomplish goals at that level. Makes sense.
Yeah.
In youth sports, when coaches talk like that and, players talk like that, or even like, fixate on a goal, they haven't even shown that they can do the daily stuff yet. Well, so I used to remember we were talking about this, Dave Goggins is a well-known motivational guy today, right, in the world. And he's a former U.S. Marine, and he runs like marathon every day, and he like trains like crazy. He has a lot of damage in his past that makes him sort of do things that are really hard on his body. But he is a great motivational speaker, and he pumps people up. And one of his, I remember one of the things he was talking about was whenever somebody sits down with him, and they start talking about a training plan, he says, okay, on Monday we're going to do this, Tuesday we're going to do this, Wednesday we're going to do this. And they set out this 7-day plan of exercise and workouts, and the person looks across the table at them and they're like, well, don't we get rest days? And he says, well, shouldn't we get you in the gym first? And he's muttered whatever, and like before you start talking about rest days, like, you haven't even worked out. You haven't even worked out yet, and you're already talking about rest days. And it's kind of true. That's sort of what I think of when I think of youth sports and these coaches and these athletes who are 15, 16, 17 talking about setting a goal for next season. No, your goal should just be, I'm doing this tomorrow. I'm doing this the day after. Or, I'm in the gym, I'm eating right, sleeping well. And then You look and the championship is there, or the opportunities pop up, and then you can set your goal. Like, tomorrow we're going to win this thing or something like that. But it's just see what's in front. So many people trip up on what's right in front of them because they're looking too far ahead. That's a popular notion too, right? And if you look too far ahead, you trip over what's at your feet.
Yeah.
So
I like the I think the tournaments or game environment or even like exhibition matches is just a way to kind of get an idea. It's just a way to kind of get a result, to get a bearing on how your team is performing. And I like what we were talking about in the last episode, saying how your practice should be more intense than the games, right? And then it's just like thinking back, the mentality that I'm pretty sure most of my volleyball career has been about is that practice is just about getting better. That's always what it was. It was just like getting better at this or that, and then the tournament or the game was just a way in which to kind of measure or quantify that.
That's a good way to look at it.
Yeah, and then kind of go back. That's especially how my youth volleyball was. We didn't. Yeah, it was nice. Like, we didn't. Obviously, it always sucks to lose. That's just built into us. You know what I mean? It always feels great to win.
Unless, like, what if you lose but play the best you've ever played?
Well, then, no, yeah, that's
right. There's that. I've had that before where our team did way better than I thought we were going to do.
Yeah,
or something like that. Or maybe you were working on some stuff.
Yeah, or you have those losses where your coach knows that you're not focused, you've been goofing off or whatever, like you didn't sleep well the night before, and then they're pissed at you the next practice. That's totally and me as the player, I would have been really bummed after that loss because you know your potential and you're not playing at it, and then that sucks because, and again, there's a moment of mental training. There's emotion there. It's negative emotion, and I don't know about you, but like especially negative emotion, I'll remember that, and that'll fuel me. So you're someone who's really fueled by like anger in a match,
or like revenge, like
I can
chip on the shoulder. I like to.
The embarrassment was hugely fueling for me. Like whenever I would lose, and like I know it was just like I didn't get to give my best. I hated that. Like those were the losses that stuck with me for like weeks, man. And then it would come out. And
sometimes you had trouble overcoming in matches, right? Like if you were a little bit mentally off when you were younger, like if something happened, I think you were
for sure, because it's kind of hard to change your mindset while in a match. Like even when I was talking about that example where we did this mental, you had a plan on the court. If the coach who had the book with the mental training, and if this happens, do this. Right, it was hard to can that
formulaic.
Well, that's what I mean. It ruined the whole game because I wasn't able to. I don't think I was able to get out of it for that whole match.
And then it makes you feel like you're doing something wrong if you can't do it. That's what I hated about those books, that mental training philosophy. And you're like, why can't I do this? Why can't I do this?
Yeah,
that's what the book said.
That's what comes from it.
It lowers player self-esteem when there's like they present you one narrow view of how to handle it, and then you're not doing it, and then you're like, why can't I do this? Well, maybe because the advice sucks.
But that's just it. After the game, it's like, well, why didn't it work? And then the coach has no answer because apparently it's like, oh, well, it doesn't always work.
Did you ask them?
No, but that's the obvious. That's the elephant in the room afterwards. Is that we did this thing and it didn't work, and now you want to go on and talk about it some more in the next practice.
Love that.
It clearly. So then at that point, we're just like, unfortunately, this coach loses. Respect or authority or whatever.
When they tell you something, it doesn't work.
Starting to turn into a joke, and then from that point on, I'm like, okay, like it's back to just the way it was before, just me, and then my influence on my teammates, and that's it, right?
And learning to care less, by the way, right? Learning to care less is the goal, because that not only comes through reps.
Yeah.
Right? So I don't care about this mistake because I've passed the ball a gazillion times. That's what my approach was. Like as I got older, I was like, one shank doesn't matter, one block doesn't matter, one missed serve doesn't matter, and those are the players that play free. And then you swing and hit, serve, carefree because you're like, no, it doesn't matter. And then you end up getting 6 aces in a row, and you're like, oh, I guess it does matter. No,
it doesn't matter until you get into those high pressure matches. And
no. But that's where
it shouldn't. But I'm saying it's where it will.
Yes. And that's where that's where the expression. We separate the adults from the children, or the men from the boys.
But those are the opportunities for more mental training.
And who does historically well in the high pressure matches? The players who were there more.
Yeah.
Right. That's literally people who have done it more, more reps in a certain stressful situation, the better you are. That's why, like in every sport, there's always before that, you know, the old dynasty has to be taken out by the new up and comers. Like in basketball, we keep talking about basketball because it's such a mainstream thing. In hockey too, you saw it with the Island. When I was a kid, it was the Islanders and the Oilers, and Wayne Gretzky kept getting his butt kicked by the Islanders, and then they had to finally sit there and watch them. And then the next year they swept them because they grew up by those losses. Jordan had to get his butt kicked by the Pistons for 2 or 3 years, and before he was able to finally beat Isaiah Thomas and the Pistons. That's just how it goes. And like all of it, and Michael Jordan didn't go read manuals on mental training necessarily. He just got his butt kicked, and that's what built the strength, and that's what makes the high performance matches. That's why, like in a high performance setting, I remember this, like, you know, I remember switching over and just thinking, like, you know, I was getting my first year as a varsity player. Remember I told you this experience on the show before? I was getting served, shanking. I was only 17 years old. Everybody else was like 19 and 20, up to 25. My captain was 24 years old, and they're like looking at me, and I'm like, I'm trying. I was terrified. I remember thinking, like, don't serve me. The guy kept spin serving me, and I was like, just But then I remember transitioning in those years to serve me that ball again. I don't care anymore. And then the passes came because I cared less. Job interview. Remember I mentioned that story about I was going for a job interview. The one I didn't care about is the one I got, because there's a relaxation involved, right? Every professional athlete will tell you about exhaling and relaxing during stressful moments. That's why yoga teaches us that, because it's all about not tensing up. That makes you perform like a breeze. That's why, you know, I watched you play last summer against super high level national team players on the beach, and you played an amazing match because you weren't supposed to win. So you didn't care. Those guys practiced eight days a week, right?
And once we got like a 3-point lead, that's when the nerves kicked in, actually, because then I was like, wait, is this happening? And then like it got all shaky. It was kind of funny.
Did you have a 3-point lead?
Yeah.
Did you?
3 or 4 point lead.
Okay.
But I think because we won the first set and then we were ahead.
No, you're not talking about.
Oh, you're talking about the other match.
Yeah, I'm talking about the other match.
Oh no, we got smashed.
We got smashed. You got smashed, but by a team that you should have got smashed by.
Yeah, we should.
But you hung with them pretty nicely at the beginning.
Yeah.
And then, but the reason why you played so well, though, again, you still played well against them. Like, I mean, give me a break. Like I said, they practice 8 days a week.
Yeah.
Right? You didn't care, so that was like a really good job
of some good
performing.
Points.
Yeah, great points, and you made them have to try their butts off, which is not many teams made them have to try their butts off.
Yeah.
So that's because they're not caring, right? And so the more times you do that stuff, and that's what we were talking about there at the court, like the more, if you guys just spend more time doing it, then you'll just be there. Like, it's just, that's like, if you're already in the conversation and pushing someone that skilled or that committed is the answer, then but I did want to, before we get too far off point, so like about goals, like one thing you said about wouldn't it be amazing if a club coach or a volleyball coach made their games all about assessing the other things. Forget about the score, forget about the win, but what if you started assessing the character building of your players? What if you wanted to assess, like, what if you told them that, you know what I want to see, guys? I want to see positive talk out there during our games. I want to see great teamwork. I want to see positivity with teammates. I want to see honesty. I want to see commitment. I want to see support for each other. And I want to see everybody cheering each other on. And I'm going to make sure that we're going to play some people. We're not going to embarrass people. I'm not going to embarrass you as my player. And you're not going to embarrass me as your coach. You're not going to embarrass each other out there. Okay? Imagine if you had that and watch that. Don't you think that team will win anyway? Because there's this whole, like, us versus the world, and we're all supporting each other. And then you have that. And then if somebody messes up, now they don't feel that, someone else is coming to get my spot, teammate hates me, setter doesn't like me, coach is pissed with me. Like, imagine if that was the scoreboard that the coach kept, and that lasted a full season. I guarantee you that team would be the best team in their area, or at least the best team they could be, right? Skills aside, the best team they could be, which is all you can ask.
And I think that's going to lead to the most consistency as well, and also bringing out the best. Like, each player will be able to bring out the best in the other players.
And what an experience that would be.
Yeah.
Can you imagine that season? Imagine if your kid or you're
making
the
each
coach
other
of that
accountable.
team. Like just the feeling that's like the stuff
Yeah.
in the movies, right? Where everybody's like, wow, those are those We Are Marshall, those movies that we all love about sports. Like there's just that character building, and that's what like Hugh McCutcheon, who we're hoping to have on soon, like that's what he's talking about. Like if sports don't exist for youth sports don't exist for championships and these goals, they exist for character building and those goals. That's the goal, right? And just sorry, you were gonna say?
Well, yeah, like talking about like movies that we revere and stuff like that, like Rocky, Rocky
1 through 11.
Yeah,
but especially Rocky 1.
Yeah, like he worked incredibly hard. So that those were good movies on how it, like recent movies are kind of like whatever. It's like you're born with a superpower and blah blah blah. But like no, like the hardship and stuff. Like you didn't see Rocky reading. I don't know. He wasn't reading a Tony Robbins book.
No.
Like
cassette tapes.
Yeah, but he was probably I don't even know what he was doing, but he put in a huge amount of hard work, or like Remember the Titans, and then you know what I mean, like the grind that they. So imagine yourself like working like that, and I like the team that you were describing there, a team where you're basically just fortifying yourselves against the outside world, because if you can do that, then you can really bring the best out of each of those players. Yeah.
And just like I said, if character is your scoreboard and the quality of experience for everybody on that team, like you come out and
every match you're
gonna win anyway. Like that's the thing. Like that's what makes teams great. And of course you do the skill development and all that stuff.
And of course you'll win and lose games, and you'll go through that. That's just baked. That's an automatic human thing. You don't even have to train that to be able to feel the joy of winning and to feel the embarrassment or pain of losing. You don't have to, because that's already just built into us.
But that's the thing. So then those are that's the scoreboard. So like you're not worried about the wins and losses. I mean, you are to a certain extent, but you're worried about how the kids handle the wins and losses.
Yeah.
Oh, how are you reacting to this? Are you working harder? Are you being a jerk to your teammate? Are you being a jerk to me? Am I being a jerk to you? Like that's a great
measurement of.
Imagine if that. So that's what when you said the thing about the game being a measuring stick of how well you're doing the other things. I think the game should be the measurement of how a coach and how a club team or even the parents handle winning and losing.
Yeah. And
handle the character. Those are the moments, right, when we build character in our lives too, right? Especially losses, right? Like when things happen, you really find out what you're made of.
Yeah.
And imagine if that's the actual, I think that's what Hugh McCutcheon is trying to get at too. Like that's what youth sports is about, is teaching kids that stuff. That because they want to come out. You want to come out as a person, a really good person, a good citizen, right? You don't want to necessarily come out with this like, I'm going to be a winner or else, or I'm going to play pro sports or else, or I'm going to win. Like that. You could argue that that's the opposite of good character, right? Like I'm going to at nothing. I'm going to win at I don't care what it takes to win. I'm going to do it. That's not good character, right?
Because then with that mentality comes the poor sportsmanship after a loss, where like they say hateful things or they get violent or do whatever.
Blame.
Yeah. Like, in an ideal world, that's where the sport happens and then the one team wins and the other team loses, but there's respect, and then there's back to still like loving the sport.
Yeah. And see, this is why, just to bring it back, like, so that's why setting the goal, the far away goal, is the bad thing too, by the way, because it has you focused way far away on the reward at the end of a journey that you haven't even thought about.
Yeah.
So what it does is it makes you a jerk, right? Because then the jerk who doesn't want to train, what do? They blame other people.
Yeah.
The jerk who doesn't want to eat right, sleep right, put in the time, they blame other people. You're getting in the way of my goal. You're getting in the way of my goal. Rather than, I'm not even thinking about the character traits it takes to be a champion. Like, I don't know about you, but every high-level athlete I know and every high-level athlete I've ever worked with, nicest people ever.
Yeah.
Hard working, humble, you know what I mean? And they're not jerks to anybody. All the tier 2 players, I call them, they're jerks, because they're the type of people who will be like beating up on crappy players, blaming other people when things get tough, and they just can't break through to that high level because they don't have the character. to be there. Like Muhammad Ali, like if we're going to go to pinnacle of like, you know, the athlete, Muhammad Ali was the kindest person. He had a bravado show, but he was everybody said he was the kindest person, right? Wayne Gretzky in hockey, right? Off the charts. People say hardworking like Ali, but kind.
Yeah.
I think Karch is in the same boat. Like he has Karch on the court was a monster sometimes.
Yeah.
And it's super intense, but kind person, hardworking. Because you have to be humble, I think, right? To be that hardworking. The humility, we talked about this on the humility episode we did early on. Like the humility is something that also breeds kindness and understanding for people. And then it also makes you work really hard because you don't think you're the best. You don't act like you don't have that, you don't have cockiness, you have confidence.
Because you're kind of in a way, you're always working on your weaknesses.
But
you're not letting them eat you alive. You're
That's
actually
the balance.
addressing them.
Yeah, there's confidence there.
Well, right.
Mixed with humility. That's the balancing act, right?
The people who have the weakness but aren't working on it,
Yeah.
right? They're not balancing it out, so they're going to be feeling more pain, and so they're just going to be blaming others for it. If you know you're like not that good, if you love the sport of whatever volleyball and you want to keep getting better at it, and you know that you just lost this other team, but if you're working on it, right, hitting the gym and going to practice, but if you were not taking it that seriously and skipping some practices, and then you go to your next game, and obviously those weaknesses are still very apparent.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like it just depends on who you are. You can either be like a negative kind of self-destructive person,
Mm-hmm.
or you can accept the fact that like you weren't doing what was required,
Right.
which will make you depressed. And the only way out of that depression is to actually to go and do the work.
Yeah, it should motivate you again. Yeah. I mean, this is what we talked about too in the heavyweight champions, right? That's why the Rocky thing came up. The hungry challenger versus the full and satisfied champion who gets lazy because they've accomplished and they get overconfident, right? That happened to Ali in his career a few times.
Which you've seen.
And then he worked his butt off and came back. But I think that like the goal setting, it's interesting because like one thing that really the people who do achieve a lot, like a lot of the goals we've seen, the character traits they had growing up really allowed them to do those little things that made the big goals possible. And I'm not saying that they didn't have the goals, like you said, make the Olympic team, make a national team. Of course, we might say that quietly to ourselves, but I always get worried when I hear people say their goal so publicly to people, right? If I said to someone like, I wanted to have this one day or do this one day, do that one day, I would rather file that away than post it on my social media or like tell everybody.
Yeah.
And then just quietly go do the work and see what happens. Because there was this whole time in our culture where we were like, oh, you should tell people your goals. Tell people your goals. And then some psychologist said, oh, when you tell people the goal, you're actually releasing something in the brain that actually makes you feel like you've already accomplished it. When everybody says, hey, way to go, congrats. Like if I said, hey guys, I'm going to publish my first book in 3 months and it's going to be out on Amazon, and everybody's like, wow, way to go, Zuby, congratulations. I'm looking at all these likes and comments. My mind is actually thinking that I've already done it and that I'm less likely to do it, which I think is true. I think that's absolutely true. Because it used to be that nobody knew you released a book until the book came out, or nobody knew you were going to do something until you actually made that team or made, But now we like trumpet our future plans to everybody almost because we want the praise of going after it. And we haven't even done one step of the work. So I think these players that have had the goals in the past, of course, we all sort of might think of like what I want to do one day or what I want to accomplish one day. But I think all of those people probably had a circle around them that were teaching them good character, whether they were lucky enough to have the right coaches to teach them the right skills, or they had a good family or the right people around them. It's very hard to think of anybody who reaches the top, I think it's spit, in sport without a good someone there, right?
I want to,
like character, to do the character thing.
Like, because a lot of these people that we're talking about, all of the right things came together in one individual, which is what kind of allowed them to get to the point. So, and that's something that Hugh talks about as well. Like, just not all of us are going to make it to be pro, but like when everything lines up, you're motivated by your nationality or your culture, and then you have the genetic predisposition, and then you're brought up in such a way, and then there's all these crazy motivational factors, internal motivators, right? And then you become someone like Ali or you're like you were mentioning, like Gretzky was just a phenom.
Yeah.
Right. Like how you can't, to compare yourself to either of these people is just, if that's your end goal, to be like Ali, to be like Gretzky, then you're going to live a life of misery.
Yeah.
Right. So instead, like when I asked you about Envato, when you started 20 years ago, you said you just wanted to provide great volleyball. Well, and you've done that every day since then, right? So every year you got to feel successful, or you got to feel like I've achieved the goal. So if we go back to that team that you were mentioning of how you build it up,
just to be clear though, it's actually not even that. Like you don't even think about that.
Well, yeah, sorry.
Everybody else,
right.
Like,
I know you're not.
Yeah.
But you're right. For me, looking in, I can say that you've achieved that goal.
Right, and it's actually really important that I don't think that.
Yeah.
That's actually part of the character thing, right?
Yeah.
Because if I sit there and say, "Look at all I've achieved 5 years in," then that means it's over.
Yeah.
Is literally the case, because that's bravado, arrogance, and it's not like me consciously stopping myself from saying it. I don't even believe it. I don't even think that.
Right, and you didn't need to, because there were other daily things that made you feel joy for what you were doing. Like you would set up a league and it would start running, and then you would see it actually before your eyes, and that would be your validation, right? Why did you keep doing it?
Yeah, well, again, it sort of crosses into that thing,
especially when it's business. It's also,
well, it's the same as sport. It's that's all I did. I just shifted my focus from when sports was done. I just turned that drive into sport, and I became like,
business is different.
Backseat.
You left teaching and to become an entrepreneur. So you've got that freedom, but you've also like ended up almost working more. Well, you pretty much have been working more.
Well,
it's also the way in which you will get money, which you need.
Yeah, it's the fulfillment of the work. The work is much more satisfying.
Yeah.
And again, just to be like really clear on this, like if I ever thought about the money in our business and like how much money it can bring in, or any business I was running, if I thought about that goal, then I'd be the worst entrepreneur ever. Like being
right.
Like it literally is never about the money. Like I know people think that's a cliche, but that's the difference, because I don't even care about.
I know, literally working with you, it never has been.
Well, we obsess over customer experience, right?
Yeah.
Like, and if people aren't happy, then we give them money back, and we're like, we don't want to keep your money if you're not happy.
Yeah.
And same with staff. I think we pay staff more than most people, because we really appreciate what they do, and then the rest I just don't even. Like I literally don't care. Like I just the goal is not. That's not what I'm fixated on. I'm fixated on day to day.
Yeah.
And day to day, that's it. Like I don't. That's why you never have those conversations about. And I don't want to make. I don't want to make this all about me. But it's a good metaphor though.
But you have like I'm starting to see it now. A level of perfectionism I can see how you're translating your sport obsession into business. Like you need to deliver a certain level of quality of play each day, and I think that's what really motivates you and kind of makes you, like you said, you feel satisfied when you've played well on the court. You feel satisfied, win or loss. Like say you had you tried this thing out in business and it didn't work, you had to refund people, but maybe that equates to a loss on the court, but you still have that level of satisfaction because you've given it everything. You've given it, and
it's all just part of the process. It's all just part of the story.
I can't see you. You've literally been very much an individual of like somewhat of a perfectionist, or of giving it everything.
Yeah, even perfectionism might be the wrong term, because I'm also good at like it doesn't have to be perfect now. Like I think
right.
I'm driven, so and dragged. I'm driven. So what happened was that when I was playing,
you always try your hardest and do your best, literally.
Yeah, and I know the difference between like what's in my control, what's not in my control. Like you see, if I didn't, so as a player, like when I was playing at my peak, I would train a lot, and I would go out there and I would do everything I could, so that way when the game happened, no matter what happened in the game, I did everything I could.
Yeah,
that's how you sleep at night. And then with the business, same thing. I work my ass off, and there are times where I'll catch myself saying, did I do everything there? Was it my fault? So I just learned, and we talked about this, remember preparation? So preparation takes care of stress, because then you're not nervous because you've done everything you can. And then when poop hits the fan or some failure happens, that's why you're able to get over it, because you did everything you could.
And that's analogous to practice.
Yes. And the people who can't get over things are the ones who aren't doing everything they can. You know what I mean? I didn't do all I could, and now whereas if you're doing all you can and you don't succeed, there's a line between what you can control and what you can't control, right? So as a player or as a business, I can do all the right things. And if I run up against a team that's better than me, or if I run up against a situation where people just don't want what I'm trying to sell as an entrepreneur, then now my frustration has to stop with the things that I can control. So many people fall into the trap, and this is where big goal setting becomes a problem. Now I'm getting frustrated with things that I can't control. All these things outside of my control, the customer, the other team, I can't get frustrated over them. All I can get frustrated with is what I can control. And that's why business and sport are so closely linked. And the ones who succeed, if you look at them, their qualities are very similar. Or a lot of them are athletic and they go into business, or they're adventure seekers or something, because they have that same mindset. And there's a universal law here about quality. And if you ask anybody, yes, some business people do set 5-year plans, yes, but to them 5 years is nothing, by the way, because they're thinking to make a business run forever. But a lot of companies don't, and the reason why they don't is because they think that they'll be trapped if they do. If you set a rigid 5-year plan in your life or in sport or in business, the problem with that is then you will not let yourself off that path. So if some amazing opportunity comes up that's not quite in that realm, then you're literally cutting yourself off from adventure and excitement. And what if that becomes your thing?
What if this works for some people? Because obviously we only have our own individual, I know you know me a little bit, but we're so unique in some ways. What if this really is a thing for certain people?
Well, so I don't think that the reason why I don't think it's kind of universal is because if you are focused on the end goal, no matter what it is, you've never experienced that goal, right? That's why it's a goal. You've never done it. The only thing you can control, and to get to that end goal, there's so many things outside your control. You're literally banking and hoping and wishing for something that is outside your control. But there's if I want to go to the Olympics, okay, and I'm a young athlete,
right?
How many things I could work my butt off?
Totally.
There's so many things outside of my control that will lead to that goal being frustrated.
You'll learn those lessons on that path.
So and this is where the saying "setting attainable goals" comes from, right? We set attainable goals because there's so many things that'll ruin our self-esteem. It'll crush us. It'll make us impatient. It'll make our parents throw chairs. It'll make the coach livid. It'll make me get burnt out. So setting attainable goal is, what? Tomorrow I'm going to turn off my phone and I'm going to go exercise. That's an attainable goal.
Yeah.
Or I'm going to put my phone down for a couple hours and go work out. Then I'm going to have a healthy meal tomorrow.
Yeah.
Because that's a real tangible thing that could lead to things down the road, but you're never going to get there if you're...
But someone, if they set a 5-year goal to become an Olympic athlete, that whole journey of trying to do that could form,
Right.
That's a great pressure cooker in a way, right?
So
that will lead them, depending on who they are, to lead them to humbleness, and then, they will have to reform their goal, but they're now expecting so much of themselves that it's going to be a great life exercise.
But don't forget though, so I know what you're saying. So if I set the goal, that's why I said there's nothing wrong with saying it or believing where you want to go.
It's all about how it's
fixation.
Yes.
Yeah. If you're fixated on the end result, which is what we're seeing, right? We're seeing the problem that's happening in youth sports is that coaches and players and parents are fixating on the end goal.
Yeah.
With no knowledge of what it takes to get to that end goal. So instead of looking so far in the future, sure, you want to be something, say it. That's fine. I still think you're not understanding the point of youth sports if that's your goal, because that's not the point of youth sports. The youth sports point is to make you a better person, better human, compassionate, good teammate, right? All these things we talk about. So you can set that goal, but fixate on what you have to do tomorrow to get there. Because it's literally, then you can sit on the sofa for 5 years and say, I'm going to be in the Olympics.
Yeah.
No. You don't know what being in the Olympics even means.
Well, and if you're
like, remember we said this before. Like, if you're watching the Olympics on TV and saying, "I want to be there," it's kind of insane because you don't even know what it takes to be there.
And if you are setting a 5-year goal, you also need to at the same time be telling yourself, like, well, it may not happen, like, because it's so far out, like it. You know what I mean? Like,
no, not just may not happen. It's odds are it's not going to happen.
Well, here, like my sister, for example, she knew she wanted to be a vet from like grade 9. Right. But she didn't say it outwardly. She just loved animals and then she got through high school, and then she got on that line to become a vet, and it was very difficult, and she had to put a huge amount of hard work, and she got rejected 3 times from vet school, but she finally got in. But so this is what I mean. Like, I think she was passionate and drawn towards a profession, but she didn't say it outwardly. She kind of drew her path to get there, and it was very difficult, and she got knocked off a few times, but I think she was also at the same time prepared to go another route, and she absolutely was, especially near the end when she was 98% of the way there. Or sorry, not 90. I guess it would have been I would say close. Yeah, and she was almost getting knocked out. But she kept trying, and thankfully she got in. But she was definitely prepared because of all the hardship she's already going through. Look, because we were different. I was just the smart kid who didn't have to work hard. She was smart, but also had to work hard. And so because she had just worked so hard, I can see it would have been so easy for her to pivot and go down something else because the work ethic was there. She could easily, and even still nowadays she could, right?
Yeah, and I mean, it's funny just because you said, she got through school. No, she worked hard every day. I actually taught your sister, right? Super hard working every day, right?
Ridiculous.
So she wasn't just someone who said, I love animals, I want to be a vet. She was someone who's like, I'm going to be a vet.
Yeah.
I'm going to be a vet.
And every day. She played 3 sports.
And she played 3 sports. She played varsity too, right?
Yeah, she played varsity for 1 or 2 years.
Yeah, varsity volleyball. But let's be clear though, right? Being a vet, being a teacher, being a doctor, being a lawyer, being a brain surgeon is easier than being a professional athlete.
Yeah.
There's more opportunity for you. All you have to do is work hard and a lot of it is in your control. True. A lot more is in your control.
Demand for it.
Yes, and there's not physical limitation necessarily. There's no height requirement to be a brain surgeon, I don't think. It must be a little bit. It's as tall as the gurney.
Hey, they got medical stands they can put in the OR.
Yeah, let's stop. I'm going to say something really bad. But again, I just go back to the idea that if you so yeah, education is a little different and pursuit of professions because people don't understand that these professional sports and these Olympic dreams are more rare than making it to any profession. And people say that, it's off topic, but people talk we should pay doctors more and teachers more than we pay athletes. Well, then stop watching because you're the reason why. Until you fill up a stadium to watch someone perform heart surgery, it's not going to happen. And we pay-per-view it. But yeah, so I think that so there's nothing wrong with having a goal in mind, but to act like you think that you know what it takes to get that goal is very naive. So you better just work your butt off and then quietly work away and see what ends up happening to you. Yeah. See the opportunities open up to you. I tell my kids this all the time. I'm not huge on organized schooling because I know when it was started and how it was kind of there to make kids into good little workers and everything, right? Not owners. So I would tell my kids in this last year of their high school, I tell them, well, just, I know how we feel about school, but if you do work your butt off for 7 or 8 months, you will have a lot at the end of that year.
Yeah. Treat it as a
means to an end, that kind of thing.
Or a challenge, right?
A challenge and just an opportunity to have more options because you've shown something to the gatekeepers of universities. Right. So I think that big goal setting is I think it can be limiting to people because sometimes they don't let themselves go out. I know in business for sure, if I had a 5-year plan in business, then some things that have popped up on the sides, I would have been no, tunnel vision, and who knows what that could have led to.
Right.
You got to be a little more ebb and flowy, more like water, as we say, to capitalize sometimes on situations, and you don't want to be so rigid And you're right. And I think, honestly, if you do have that goal and it's written on a wall and you're like, every day, then any little failure we talked about on the way would have been like crushing.
But there's going to be the stories of where that's worked for certain people. I'm sure someone it's worked and they've written a book about it and they've talked about it.
But don't forget, I think that some people misdiagnose their success through hindsight. Like, I think a lot of people look back on their lives and they tell themselves stories about what, like, you know, I could tell you this was a major turning point in my life when I saved my brother from that wild boar attack, you know, and
I'm just trying to use, you know, because everyone's going to use the outlier to counter this argument and be like, oh, well, so-and-so, you know what I mean? And like,
yeah, there are like,
there's outliers and everything. That's kind of what I'm trying to get.
So for me, like, not only, so I read a lot of biographies, I study a lot of people that have done stuff, and then I have my 2 or 3 examples in my life where I've built 2 businesses pretty well, working on a 3rd, and I've done the sports thing, and I did even the school thing. But like, even when I was like, I had this thing that I wanted to be a teacher. It was like my dream, because my dad, not a lofty dream, I know, but it was, but I still wanted to do it a lot.
Yeah.
And I did it actually by not really fixating. I wasn't obsessed on the goal. I just did some things here, still played varsity sports. My dad didn't think I could do it because I was too lax about school. And I got into one of the better teachers' colleges and did it. And I don't know why or how, but but if I add that to my list of things I did, then I just know, like, this is kind of a universe. Like, it's just a fact that if you are so caught up, or if you're so fixated on the faraway goal and you're not doing what's right in front of you, which is what we're seeing more and more, then it's a problem. Like, I see so many young athletes, so many young coaches talk about the big lofty dream. You know, here's a great example. Okay, so let's suppose you have a coach who's obsessed with winning every year, okay, and winning championships, and yet they're not online or reading books constantly about bettering their coaching. Right? Yeah. They're not studying. They're not doing the work. They punish their athletes. You know, you're a role, right? Point, you're a role model, right? And so, like, what are you doing? What example are you setting? Because if you're just talking about faraway championships, but you're not doing the daily work.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be honest with you. Like, if I was coaching right now, if I was coaching high level, if I was coaching varsity or university volleyball, I would be training with my team. I'd be in the gym, or at least make sure they knew that I was training.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I want to keep myself mentally sharp. I want to keep myself physically sharp. Like, I see a lot of coaches, and like, in fairness, I do know this because I've said this to my wife too, as a business owner. Like, you know, like, we run a volleyball company, and I noticed that I shifted my whole focus out of the gym as a player now to my gym is my office now. Right?
Yeah,
That does happen to coaches. I get that. But I would be working hard on my craft. Let me put it that way. And maybe I shouldn't say that because, you know, some coaches might not work out because they're busy studying and training and going, you know, I'll take that back. But as long as you're doing some hard work, you know, make sure that your players see you working hard as a club coach on your craft. And then that's what you want them to pick up from you. You want them to pick up that you have the character traits, right? Because, you know, if your coach is a jerk, then I'm sorry, that team's going to be filled with jerks. If your coach is, and I've seen that.
Well, if they're just like not even trying hard and they're just getting paid some money, and that's a good point. I never even considered
the coach's role model.
Yeah, the coach's integrity as a competitor.
Yeah, coach sets the tone, whether it's character.
I just assumed they watched game tape and they show up on time for practice, so that's a good thing. But
yeah, but what are they doing to better themselves, right?
Yeah.
Either physically, mentally, especially, I think, honestly, if you are a coach, you shouldn't, you're right, I shouldn't, I mean, personally, I would be in the weight room because I really want to model that for my players, but I would also model, like, I'd love for my team to be, you know, I'd be sitting there reading a book while the team is walking in. Sure, the book's upside down or my phone's in it.
You would be you are one of those coaches where you're on the court and you're actually demonstrating and you can have.
Yeah, but that'll go away, right? Like that with age, that'll go away.
Well, for sure. Yeah, that's true.
You know what I mean? Because there's gonna be a day where you're getting aced
totally.
by 12-year-old girls.
Totally.
But I think the idea though, like it doesn't have to be the physical. I'm a still player. I think that's actually pathetic if a coach is like, I can still do this. Ow, like.
Well, yeah.
I think you have to.
Can't.
Yeah, because that's rooted in insecurity, and I was there for a long time. Like I'm like, you're not gonna be able to do what you do when you're young, but you can always show your team that you're getting better at getting better at what I need to do. So you get better at what you guys need to do.
That's weird because like with me coaching like younger kids, like now, like I'm gonna be doing. I definitely lean on the demonstrating a lot, right?
Yes.
But
I think so. What I was thinking about this morning, like, isn't it great that we're doing this while you're moving more into coaching youth now?
Yeah.
Like this show,
that's what I mean. It's
interacting with
pretty
people,
cool.
the mindset stuff, you're going to learn a lot. And that was kind of an accident, I think, that's sort of happened that we didn't really intend.
Yeah.
But just worked out nicely, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I guess we could probably sum this up, I guess. Right? I personally think that long-term goals are good to have, file them away, but always focus on, don't picture the goal, picture what those people are doing to get to the goal.
Yeah.
And what'll happen there, and again, I don't want people to start, I'm not telling people that they should start dreaming. I even think that people are misguided to think about the goals that they think about. I think your goal should be, how can the sport make my life better? How the sport can be fun, right? What about fun? Like, just nobody plays sports for fun anymore. Hugh McCutcheon makes a great point in his book that nobody plays sport. By the way, if people are wondering who Hugh McCutcheon is, he was the head coach of the men's U.S. national team, head coach of the women's national team in the United States.
Yeah.
Gold medal with the men, silver medal with the women narrowly, and then now he went to the University of Minnesota. And we're talking with Hugh about getting him on the show.
Or he played, right?
He was a professional player. He was and he talks a lot about things, the same things we talk about on this show, about how it's very easy to get into coaching and how there's no credentials to get into coaching. We talked about how if you want instant authority, you can walk in and become a coach, a youth sports coach, which is interesting.
If it's not fun anymore, then what's drawing the kids into it? Because that's the only reason why I played it, was because it's fun.
Yeah, well, we were lucky. We played in a different time, right?
Well, what draws a kid into it now?
Well, it starts out fun. And then what happens is it quickly turns into work,
and then it's just
pressure from parents a lot of time. Well, it's funny because remember I talked about being driven at the start and then dragged later on. That's sort of what happens to a lot of kids, and that's why we don't see a lot of players at youth ages lamenting quitting. Like they're ready to quit by the time it's done. Well, like a whole lot of drag.
That's what I'm thinking there, because kids are defiant, and like I can see them just being like, no, I'm not going to do it. And like,
yeah, but they're also like, trapped in that whole I got to please my parents thing, and I love my parents.
I wonder if it becomes part of their like identity on Instagram and stuff.
Yeah. Well, even you said at the start of this episode, you said I had to go to college.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's rooted in some parent stuff a little bit.
I had to do, for sure.
Right. So that's why they don't quit. You hypocrite.
Oh.
I became a teacher. Both my parents were teachers. Week past. Nope. Can't swear.
Wow.
Anyway. So if you're doing goals, stop it. No.
No, you're not. We were just explaining like
the emphasis.
Yeah.
Yeah. And thinking about the character that you get from sport. Like, it teaches you to work hard, teaches you humility, teaches you to, have fun. Like all these things are just forgotten on coaches.
There's so much to be to receive from just working hard, like you in your business, and my sister in her pursuit to become a vet. I think,
and you in your life, you've worked hard. You've worked hard.
Yeah,
worked hard.
But I think that's what she just knew on some level, is that like working hard felt good. And I mean, in the school system, they do reward that, right? The higher your grades,
and is it hard work?
Well, it's just like
it's work you don't want to do.
Yeah. Right. But maybe that's what kind of allowed her to get through and do well. And then
that's the difference between that and the public school route. It's not really.
The difference is internal versus external.
It's a goal based on I think that the problem with the education examples is that they're goals based on subservience and following orders, not about going above and beyond all the time. It is, but in a narrow sense. Like I'm not diminishing it, because I just think it's much easier because those routes and those goals are like set out.
Yeah,
like, you know what I mean? Like they can tell you in grade 4.
It's still a challenge.
Here's the path you will take, and you're in it every day. There's no choice. in the academic world.
Yeah.
Remember, it's against the law to quit school.
Maybe it is a bad example.
Well, it is when it comes to like attaining. This is why like a lot of the bulk of humanity doesn't understand attaining high level success where there is no structure. See, that's the thing. Like if there's someone there forcing you into structure, then or into the steps, then it's a lot less rare, right? To be
forcing you to do anything, just coercion is.
Well, the school system does force you to attend, and they force you to. You can be happy here, or you can be miserable. Your choice.
This is the process.
Yeah. Whereas, like to be outside the system and say I'm still disciplined even though I'm free.
Oh, it's because we don't have a society that's capable of dealing with that. Anything that if you don't fit in this, we don't know how to accommodate you, type thing.
But also the individual in a free setting, it's very difficult to be disciplined. You know what I mean? Like I keep telling people that every time I think that I'm free, like, you know, I'll quit my job and I'm like, oh, I'm free. And then I know, oh, I built a jail for myself. And then, oh, I'm getting free. Oh, here's another jail I built for myself. And what that is really is it's like me putting myself, it's me acting somewhat disciplined despite having freedom. And that's tricky to do because most people think, right? This is what lottery winners do. They go win the lottery and then they think they want to be free and then they hit their lives because they have nothing to do. Yeah. You know what I mean? So there's a weird line there where we need to do something, but when we're totally free, we destroy ourselves. But so there's something about being outside a thing like
and they lose all their money.
Yeah, and they lose all their money. But there's something about being outside something like an education system or a job, like, you know, like waking up or you have to go to your work every day. Yeah. That's discipline, that's structure, and it's there for you. It's mandated on you.
Yeah, it feels different, right? Because it's
when I quit my job and I was like waking up in the morning, I'm like, well, I guess I better get to work.
yeah.
And you know, writers talk about this, artists talk about this, the other day, actually. Entrepreneurs, they all talk about this.
I used to be so disciplined in my sleep schedule when working at the hospital, and then I'm like, wait, why can't I could do it for that, but I can't do it for my own. But I'm starting to figure out the difference now. And I was like, yeah, the things I would make myself do for that, it's just because it was mandated and forced upon me. Now that I have this freedom, I have this kind of pause. It's like, well, hey, what if I just like go to bed at a normal time for my own well-being, and then I'll get up and then. So I'm in that process right now. And learning things. And
it never really like it. I guess it does. I guess it went away from me now because now what I did. What's funny, because what I did was I started hiring office staff to show up at a certain time, and I was just talking to my wife about this. It's kind of interesting because instead of me like, okay, I'll do all this stuff and I'll do all that stuff, and I might stay up till 4 a.m. working. Now it forces me to be ready by a certain time to be with people and to teach people, train people. So I kind of lose those hours of the day now. It's kind of weird because now I'm training and I'm working with other people in the office, and then I have to make up that time later on my time. So it's still very busy, but the discipline is still there. Like I don't just sit. You know, I might take a day where I sit down and do nothing, but then I feel guilty about it. Yeah. Which is kind of good place to be actually. When I you know think about it, it is nice to be disciplined without someone making you be disciplined. And that's the drag I was talking. Now the customers kind of drag me now. Yeah. Right? I'm like, I have to. Yeah. They're waiting to play tomorrow. I better send an email.
Yeah. Yeah. Otherwise. Yeah. Yeah, and the embarrassment would be too much.
Right? Oh, it would just be
the annoyance of all the emails, and
it'd just be impossible to do. Yeah, like you just can't do that to people. Yeah, like there's super high accountability. So it's kind of cool when you start to build in accountability into your life. I do wonder, like, you know, like why do I keep building these jails? It's like I don't want freedom, or I keep creating obligation for myself. And you and I are like this. I think a lot of people are like this. We hate obligations. It's like when somebody asks you to go to a party, you're like, yeah, I'm going to the party. And then tomorrow you're like, oh, God, I'm going to this stupid party. And then you might go to the party and then you're like, you know what? It was better than I thought. It was good. Yeah. That's what we did that when we were coaching last summer. Yeah. These beach clinics were like, oh, every Tuesday for 10 weeks. We did this. Yeah. And then we'd go every day. We would lament going.
That was so funny.
And we were like, oh, and then the people would show up and we started joking with them and talking, having fun, seeing them enjoy it. And then we'd leave going, this is amazing. And then next Tuesday we're like, oh, it's like brain damage. See, that's what it's sort of related because like that's us, like, you know, if I tell you, hey, Eric, let's do a clinic on the beach, and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, let's do it. And you're like, oh. But that's us thinking about the end goal. Right. And not the stuff in the middle. And in this case, the stuff in the middle is actually makes it
Clearly,
and it feels like
show up those nights and have a good time.
But it's kind of like the workouts, isn't it? Like it's kind of like the training and the prep and the mental work and the all the reps and practices to get to a bigger goal. It's like that is the reward is the journey.
Yeah,
is the reward. No, that's why that's why that end goal maybe it's not even the reward. It feels like the reward, but the real reward is what's gained in the day to day.
Yeah,
right. That might be a good place to wrap this up.
I think so. We definitely rambled off.
Especially because I whispered there. All right. So, so pay attention, folks. Hopefully, please do hit. We do notice we get a lot of views on YouTube, or we get a lot of people watching the video who don't subscribe. So if you do, it means a lot to subscribe. I mean, YouTube's not the only place. Like we're on Apple Music. And
no one's listening right now, but
I know, but it's worth the shot.
Yeah, go for it.
We should probably do this at the beginning.
Yeah, probably.
But if you are still listening, pay attention over the next few days because we are planning to get some nice guests in here that you will know and can further educate players, coaches, and coaches, and parents on on different aspects of the game. So, thanks for listening as always, and we will see you next time.
Feels good to say that, eh?
It does, yeah. It's like I'm on TV.
What's the big idea?